As we continue to look at the Second Amendment Supreme Court case on a person's right to carry in the state of New York, which will affect the person's right to carry coast to coast. But as we look at this and we examine what it is that was said in that courtroom, it's important that we take a moment. You know, obviously all of the Supreme Court justices are not for this whole thing. There's several that are very against it. So I want to take a moment and just look at the comments that they had said to kind of get an idea of where people are voting. And there's a comment that was said by Justice Stephen Breyer that I think it just seems really kind of ridiculous to me. I just want to quote this. I think that people of good moral character who are drinking a lot and are maybe there for a football game or some kind of soccer game can get pretty angry at each other. And if they each have a concealed weapon, who knows? So this is Stephen Breyer's argument against a person's constitutional right to carry, is that suppose two guys in a bar get in a fight over a football game or a soccer game and somebody gets shot. Now, I want to take a moment and just look at the rationale of that. Not to mention that, well, is it better to worry about those two guys, or is it better to worry about the safety of the entire state of New York and the entire country? Because I'd be curious how often two guys get in a fight in a bar and one of them dies of a gunshot in America every year. My guess is less than 10. And even if I'm way off, I'm going to say less than 100 for sure. How many people were victims to violent gun crimes in New York City alone last week? I mean, come on, people. This is about somebody's right to defend themselves. Gun crime in New York City is higher than it has been since the late 70s and early 80s, when it was at its worst. And citizens don't have the ability to protect themselves. Imagine if people had the ability to protect themselves, how that would actually affect gun crime in New York City. It'd knock it down a huge notch, because if somebody's afraid somebody might pull a gun, they're less likely to pull a gun. That is the reality of human nature. So to suggest that in the event, I mean, like, oh, imagine two guys watching a football game, get in a fight, and somebody gets shot. Who knows? How terrible could that be? I mean, come on. That might be the most ignorant argument from a judge I have ever heard in my life. It's sad that they get a life of being on the seat there, because to suggest that somebody should lose their constitutional right to the Second Amendment and their ability to protect themselves, their families, their loved ones, and their neighbors because two guys might get in a fight in a bar and one might shoot the other one. Hate to see that happen, goodness gracious. It's just pure ignorance. You know, there's a point where people make good legal arguments, and there was a lot of good legal arguments made. This one isn't even legal. This is just straight up ignorance, and it's just playing on people's emotions and just trying to say, well, what if this? What if that? What if this? What if gun crime in New York City went up? What if people are dying every day in the streets of New York? What if that? What if that? What if somebody tries to conquer this country and we don't have the right to defend ourselves? What if my wife can't defend herself from some sort of a violent assault? What if all that stuff? I mean, this is just pure ignorance, people. Pure ignorance. And I hope none of the other justices listen to him, and I hope in their little Supreme Court justice world, they all think he's an idiot as he spoke those words. So love to hear your thoughts on all that. Put it in the comments below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. Feel called to support this channel to Patreon. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel, we take prayer requests, so never hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.